Well, hello there. It's been a while, I think, since I've been live on here. Hopefully everything's set up okay. And thank you so much for joining me today. Yesterday, Eatsy's Q2 financial report came out. So that is my time to go through this. I've been nervously waiting this week, expecting Etsy to drop some weird changes. And I haven't seen anything. So, in some respects, things are boring, but at the same point, they're not. You're probably going to be angry with some of this. I was disappointed. I mean, are things bad? Yeah, they're kind of worse than I thought, if I'm honest. And the whole, I think I said I wouldn't be that petty. I was going through the report and I found some numbers that I've sort of been sleeping on. And I was like, I could put them into a graph and that really answers some questions, but I wouldn't be that petty, would I? Do you guys think I made graphs on things, on numbers that Etsy probably don't want us talking about? I might. I just might. All right, it's been a long day, and I don't want to keep you all hanging about longer than you need to. Anna and Michelle, hello there. Anna loves me some graphs. I love me. It is my favorite time of the quarter in that I get to do graphs and stuff. And Emily loves a good Pam graph. Shall we dive straight into the graphs? What I'm going to do, I've got some graphs, and I did basically a little presentation. It's not a presentation, but I made some slides with the things I was thinking. And then we'll jump into Etsy's presentation, and I've got the notes. I listened to the call, got the Q&A. As I've said, there's no big, massive announcements, but there are some little nuggets that you all might find interesting. But let's start with the Pam graph. Yeah, Kat, the O2 biometrics were not great. Michelle, yeah, watch the call. I hate the word salad from Josh. Yeah, I know. I hate all corporate kind of things where you're saying words to hide what you're trying to say. And yeah, Josh is getting more and more corporate. Like it's yes, you have to be corporate, but yeah, didn't like all of that. So yeah, dug into things. So try and not be too angry, guys. This is probably worse than what Etsy are saying, if we're honest. Cat, I have a Josh Bingo card. Hey, sell that. Let's all play Josh Bingo next time. I wonder if I could do a watch party on here of the Etsy thing. That would be so fun. We could do it live on here. Etsy would probably sue me or something because my face don't lie. Emily, really surprised they didn't announce changes to Etsy Plus or a subscription-based fee tier. Yeah, I was expecting something like that. I did check sort of what's been happening in the past few years, and they have been making changes in like August as well. So don't stop holding your breath yet, folks. Things could come out. But let's first of all, here's my famous graph. So here is Etsy revenue and GMS from first quarter 2017 to current. Yes, every month, every quarter, I take their data and I plot it in a little graph because it used to be handy to explain to people, look, things go up through the year and then Christmas is big. And then the pandemic happened and yeah, things changed even more so. So the orange line here is Etsy's revenue. That's the amount of money they're making. And that's in millions. And the blue line is GMS and it's in billions. So these are two different graphs. They're on a different scale. I put them like this so you can see them together, because seeing them together shows you some interesting things. GMS is like gross mean sales. It means basically GMS is all of the sales that are made on Etsy. All of us sellers selling things. It's the total amount of money that's been. Am I making sense? It's been a long day. But yeah, gross merch sales. It means sales. It's the money made from sales, and revenue is the money that Etsy's made. So what I've always said about this since it happened, they're not on the same scale, but The revenue line always used to be below the GMS line till, what was that, midpoint of 2022, and then they crossed over. Now, if we look at 2025, that blue line, things have definitely been trending down for the past few years. And that orange, that gap is getting bigger and bigger. That is a change, most definitely. Now, the blue line being flat, I'll be fair to Etsy that they had 2 months of reverb, and then they sold them. So it would have been slightly higher if reverb had another month of sales. So it's not completely flat, but it's still not looking good. But the fact that GMS is kind of flat and revenues kind of up is rude. So I did a thing. I'd been sleeping on what they call the take rate. I understood it was what it was, but I didn't. And the take rate is just the percent of the GMS that Etsy's taking as their revenue. So I decided to calculate that for all this time to see the difference. So the percentage, how much of the GMS Etsy's getting in revenue, to see that change. And brace yourself, guys. Are you all ready for this graph? Yeah, Kat, seeing it like this is interesting. They're making more and more money from sellers, and there are fewer and fewer buyers. And Emily, they keep bleeding sellers to make up GMS sales. Etsy ads are getting more expensive and less profitable. Yeah, I'll do more digging into the numbers, but today I've been head down digging in these numbers. So this graph, like Leah, you're saying, wow, this is the take rate in a percent from 2017 to now. And you can see, I don't have the exact numbers on me because this is just a slide, but it used to be about 14% of the GMS is what Etsy had in revenue. Now it's 24%. So we saw in the first slide, I keep on saying, oh yeah, the gap's getting bigger. In real terms, Etsy's getting more money while less sales are happening, pretty much. So I've been joking about this for a while, but who is Etsy's profit coming from? It's starting to come more and more from us, which is where we're thinking, are they going to be doing more Etsy Plus, trying to do more things to get money out of us? So yeah, ads are more expensive, there's no denying it, and less effective, and have been being so. I want to check in and see what the difference is when they changed Etsy ads from promoted listings where you could control them, and see what that changed to the take rate and everything. I haven't done this, but you can. I think for me, I'm a graphs person. This speaks for itself. Is what Etsy's been doing since it's floated on the stock exchange. So Emily, yeah, it's not a long-term sustainable model. It's so frustrating. I agree. There's only so much money they can squeeze out of us sellers, and it actually gets worse. Yeah, Kat, those are the words I was trying to think of. I've been streaming for too long already. It seems that we're the product more than the actual buyers. That's the exact words I was looking for. What's the product for Etsy? That's definitely a change in business model. I'm sorry, it's roasting hot. If you can hear a plane, I live under an airport. Okay, so here's one of my more traditional graphs. This is the ratio of buyers to sellers. And what was that? 2023, that was kind of at an all-time low, and things were recovering a bit. Just we want more buyers to sellers. So basically at the peak, we were nearly at 20 buyers for every seller, and now we're down at 11. And yeah, the past year or so it was recovering, and that's definitely dropped this quarter. Absolutely, most definitely, that's a noticeable dip again. So that's not a good trajectory. Can't do words. And here's the GMS per seller. This is the one of the most telling graphs around about the pandemic. This was great. This is all I've done, taken the GMS, the amount of money made in sales on Etsy, and divided it by the number of active sellers on Etsy. Now, the numbers aren't perfect because of how Etsy reports things. Some things, like the GMS number they give, is for the whole of the Etsy family, which is Etsy and Depop just now. But I'm dividing it by the actual number of sellers on Etsy, so it's actually lower than this in real life. I just realized I was doing that. But anyway, so if we actually look, this number, this quarter, is the lowest it has been in a decade. If you extrapolate, if you draw a line along there, this is the lowest it's been. So if people are saying things are tough, they really are. Yeah, created by AGF, but without the sellers, they'd have nothing to sell to the buyers. They need us, yes. One investor said in the last presentation this wasn't sustainable. That's it. So even the investors who are pushing Etsy to make them money, they know this is not the way to do it. Leila, this is interesting. I wonder what happens next. Yeah. Something has to change, because Etsy's tried to change things. They were sounding good. Was it the start of last year? They were making the right sounds, but it looked like things were turning around, but they've turned right back around and walked out the room. And they're woof. Yep. Okay. And this is another one I saw. Now I looked, this is for the 6 months. This is for this year. I pulled this up because of an interesting number. It's a little bit better for this month, for this quarter, but I hadn't noticed this as well. So for this past 6 months, if we look at the revenue that Etsy's making and all the cost of it, actually Etsy's made a loss for the past 6 months. So although they're clawing more revenue out of us, they're actually not making money. So that actually, I saw that. As I say, this quarter is better. It's slightly in profit. But yeah, that's a number I've not really paid attention to before. So net loss, that's, I don't know what to say about that. Actually, that's really not a good number that I don't know how I'd missed in the past. And this is just a final little slide. This is something I'll be talking about in the Etsy slides, but I went back through some of the old slides because I was pulling together some extra data and stuff. And I saw this one. People are saying, the revenue, where's that coming from? What's the change and everything? Now, Etsy does a breakdown and stuff. But I saw they were saying, seller services revenue is up 15% year on year. And I was like, yeah, what is the breakdown of these things? So I found it. So the marketplace revenue is basically the revenue that Etsy makes because of sales, roughly. So the transaction fee, if we make a sale, this comes in. It's not entirely, but pretty much. So offsite ads, if that's what we're paying them if we make a sale, payment processing fee, listing fees. So the marketplace revenue is the orange thing, and that's the one that steps in line. The more sales we get, that's good. But the service revenue, optional value added services, so it's on-site ads, shipping labels, and other. They don't explain what that was. But for the whole of 2024, the service revenue was 28%. And then for this quarter, that service revenue was over 30%. So, and remember, the revenue's a little bit higher as well. It's been going up. So absolutely, Etsy are taking more money from us for things that aren't sales related. So yeah, you've got, like, if you do accounting and stuff, you've got fixed and variable costs and everything. So Etsy's taking a bigger chunk of the pie, regardless of if we have if we're making sales, Etsy's still finding ways to make money, basically. So that's the little slides that I make. We're going to dig into the report in a little more detail. I'll listen to the Q&As. I'll listen to everything. Everyone else who listened as well, be interesting to hear your take. Oh, EJF, I also made a loss for the last 6 months. I didn't do great, for sure. Thankfully, I have other irons in the fire, but my shop definitely could be better. Yep. Yeah, I love a very non-scientific survey of my mum's friends asking what they thought Etsy was all about. They're all female with disposable income, aged 40 to 70, and they all thought it was an expensive homeware shop. Oh dear, yeah. And the people who we want to be Etsy buyers, who they used to be, is the people who are conscious of what they buy. Crafty people want to support artisans and artists and things. They have bad thoughts of Etsy now. So yeah, I don't want to be all negative. Look, we can still make things work, but I can't Pollyanna. I can't sugarcoat this and say it's lovely. I think it's fairly clear that stuff is struggling. Yeah. Debbie, hi there. The tricky part is we want them to make dollars. If they were making less, we'd have even bigger problems. Oh, exactly. We want them to make money, but we want them to make money because we're making money. We want that GMS to be increasing. We want them to make enough money so they can cope. But things, yeah, it's difficult. Susanna, hello there. Yeah, you missed my magic graphs, but you can catch the replay, so that's okay. EJF, yeah, it's not helping that there's so many trashing Etsy on the socials. Yeah, I feel that. I try and say that is we can be not happy, but the problem with all these boycotts and everything is these people who care are coming up and saying, oh, I wouldn't buy from Etsy because it treats the artists badly. So you wouldn't buy from us. Tell us where else we could sell if Etsy's so terrible, but we have to be here. Get ducked. Yeah, just run the Where's Waldo commercial again. That'll help. I will get into it, but Etsy are actually cutting back on TV ads, which is interesting. Debbie, yeah, parallel growth. Thank you. See, you guys give me the right words. We want parallel growth. Cat, yes, exactly. We love Etsy, which is why we want them to be awesome. They're not helping us. Yeah. Etsy was an awesome place, and it's still full of really amazing creatives. It's just hard to find them. It's still got absolutely fantastic customers. I have been in floods of tears in a nice way from messages from customers so many more times than I can count. And yeah, to an extent, we don't want to hide the fact that stuff's not good. But we want to celebrate the good and push the good forwards. I keep trying to think of ways that we can, share good shops and everything, but it's so difficult because, even if you ask people, you'll get scammy shops and things, and it's hard to wade through and find out who should be allowed to be selling what. So I would love to be in a place to be able to support and push forward more better shops, but I'm also dumb, and sometimes I don't necessarily know when somebody's doing things they shouldn't. I do my best. ELJ, committed to staying with Etsy as long as I'm able to afford keeping my business open. Yeah, it's a tough one. Right. Okay. I'm so glad that not everyone, but so many people are sort of in the same place as me, in that we don't hate Etsy. We're not trying to turn our back on Etsy. We just want good Etsy, and it totally can be. So yeah, let's get into the financial results because I could be here all night. Absolutely. So, and you'll find if you just search, I just search, it's investors.etsy.com financials quarterly results, and you just go with the presentation. There's more details in other bits, but the presentation is nicely put. So here is the numbers. So consolidated GMS, that's the sales, is 2.8 billion. That is 4.8% year on year down, 5.8% on a currency neutral. I just deal with the big numbers. I don't understand accountancy massaging numbers. Consolidated revenue, look, 4.8% down in sales on Etsy, but Etsy's revenue is 3.8% up year on year. Unfortunately, as we've found out, but they're also going at a bit of a loss. EBITDA, earnings before taxes and stuff. So there we go. And the take rate, I now know, is the percentage of that in there. So they're taking 24% of what we make in sales, they get in revenue. And that's excluding Reverb. Consolidated GMS was 2.7 billion, down 2.6% year on year on the same basis. So it's not so bad without Reverb, but as you'll find later, Depop is actually doing pretty well and Etsy's doing pretty bad. So really, so this is their thing. They're talking about last year they feel they changed to make Etsy a better place to shop, not just to buy. Talking about the right things, but we've seen the trajectories not going in the right way just now. But this is what they talk about, their flywheel, where they're basically training machine learning to understand. There's kids playing outside. I don't know if you can hear them screaming. But it's just saying to generate more personalized marketing. They're talking about retooling the ranking platform, which is a weird way to word things, to show more diverse recommendations to buyers. Non-obvious results. This worries me. I understand what they're trying to say, but they want to surprise. They want to surprise buyers with things that they weren't searching for. How can that go wrong? But I like that more diverse. They've been talking about this for a while. So if you search for funny mug, you don't see 200 of the same thing. You're going to see different things. Unfortunately, it possibly is also going to mean you're not just going to see mugs if you search for funny mug. And I'm concerned about that because I've seen that Amazon's been like that over time, but that can be a problem if you're searching for, say, a specific dietary requirement. You type that into the search, but not everything you see will be relevant for that dietary requirement, but you don't notice because you thought you searched properly. So here we go. Yeah, Depop doing great, up 35%. It's a much smaller company, so it's easier to, they're at a growth phase, so it's fine. Etsy, they are saying, is ahead of expectations, so people are kind of happy, but with it being ahead, they said it was going to be worse than it was. So GMS drivers, direct owned marketing efforts contributing meaningfully to GMS. So this is where they're talking about like the personalized emails and, you know, things that Etsy own, like emails and push notifications and things. Benefits from increased paid social investment. What's this? Help competitive dynamic in paid search channels. They're there, and they're going to be pushing the mobile app much more because, again, the mobile app is doing good. People who download the mobile app are spending more money on it than other places. And there's Depop doing well. It seems they've been testing things on Depop, and when they're working, they're going to bring them over to Etsy by the sounds of it. I'll just check the chat. Kat's happy about the setup fee that does seem to have reduced some of the scammy sellers. So yes, I think I understand why they're doing ways to create friction in opening a shop. It's not good in that it also puts off people who are good, but and in some ways I am seeing all the time people are saying, I want to open a different kind of shop, but I'm worried about the setup fee, so should I just use my existing shop and change it, which is not really how things should be doing. Cutting room designs, what is Depop? It's Etsy. Etsy is Etsy as we know it, the selling platform, but it's also a company, like Google is Alphabet. It's a company, and it's bought some other companies like Reverb and ELO7. It bought both of them and owned them under the umbrella of Etsy. And it sold them. Depop's the one it's kept because of that. It's still growing. And Depop, if I remember correctly, is a place to sell clothes, used clothes and stuff. And it's doing really good. It seems pretty cool and popular. Emo, hope everyone's doing well. Hello there. Okay, right. Yeah, making the Etsy app the centerpiece of our shopping experience is beginning to impact buyer satisfaction. So, the app GMS grew year on year, and it represents 45% of total GMS. So it is important. Like, that is a lot. It's not saying that 45% of sales are coming from the app. 45% of customers are shopping on the app. It's actually, there's less customers shopping on the app, but they're spending more. So 45% of GMS is coming from the app. So Etsy is going to keep on pushing that. So it is important. That's probably explains why they've been messing around with how we're seeing the images, because they want them to make them look mobile app friendly. But yeah, let us know if I keep meaning to use the app more. I don't shop on my phone. I have computers in every room, sort of. That's terrible. But I do a lot of things on computers, so I buy on computers. But let me know if you're finding the app better than what it used to be. Our efforts to show buyers we know them is driving momentum. So yes, they are trying to keep on showing you more personalized things. They are saying that that's there. 40% of messages are now personalized. So they've increased that rather than just having generic messages. The only problem I find with that is if you're a seller, you're quite often looking in your shop or searching for things related to that, so the personalized messages are quite often my own stuff, but hopefully it's working. Well, they're saying personalized messages perform better, such as conversion rate, visits, and GMS. So personalized messages are working. Yeah, Kat, the app image ratio appears to match Pinterest, which is interesting. Yeah, I've definitely been seeing that a little bit. EJF, keep getting things just personalized to what I sell in my shop, which is not what I look to buy. Cutting room design, same. Yeah, it would be nice if they found a way to show personal, because back in the day, most of my sales were to other sellers, and that's not a bad thing. I'd be happy. Okay, there's far more buyers than there are sellers, but sellers are people who are on the site an awful lot, and it would be cool to do most of your shopping on Etsy. I don't do very much shopping on Etsy anymore. The AI stuff was very interesting. To put this bit in, what they're saying is Etsy's doing really well when ChatGPT recommends things to people. So this is really positive. And it's something, yeah, I'm definitely wanting to dig into. I've done a whole lot of research actually on how to optimize your shop and things to get ChatGPT to recommend it. If anyone wants a video on that, actually, I've been looking into it. It was really interesting. I thought the fun way to do the research on that would be to ask ChatGPT, but make her actually cite sources and things like that. But yeah, so Eatsy's doing really well. So this is at the minute in time, and even Josh said, the amount of traffic coming from ChatGPT is too small to be able to talk about like what's the conversion like or anything. There's not enough data to be able to do anything with the data yet. However, this is something that could really grow. I mean, it's only a couple of years ago ChatGPT didn't exist, and now suddenly everybody knows about it. So this has the potential to either blow up and be huge or hit an IP flame war and suddenly explode into nothing. But I think this is going to be a growing thing. So it's definitely interesting. Layla, I've been trying to learn Pinterest since that live stream. Yeah, Michelle did amazing in the live stream. Yeah. And I was okay. I'm gonna go and do Pinterest, and then I thought, Pam, you're not. Like, I know I am not going to make. I'll make like 5 pins a day for 2 weeks, and then I'll be determined, and I'll say I can totally do this, and I'll do nothing for months. I keep doing that. I know I'll do that. EJF is also an Etsy shopper. Yay. Oh, Kat and Emily are good for a video on how to optimize for chatty. I think it's a really interesting thing. Fatty Pancake, what a great name. I try and find items to buy on Etsy, but it's rough when I need like kitchenwares outside of dishwares. Yeah, Etsy could be better. Yeah. Oh, Kat, I did a very in-depth Pinterest course, and Pinterest has great demographic data. I think I am amazed. Like, when I started on Etsy, people were talking about Pinterest, and I was like, what is this? And what am I supposed to do with this? I'm amazed at how well it's just kept on going, and it's really popular. You know, it's really doing good. And I'm absolutely amazed. Sprouted Dreams, Grok recommended Etsy as a source for a product I was looking to buy. Yeah, so it sounds like Etsy's ahead of the game in that, which is good because I've got to be honest, in the showing things people what they want to buy, you know, we get you. Timu and Shein have got that nailed. I'm sorry, whatever you think of the companies, if you search for something and you like it, you know, you go in and see something you like and click on a couple of things, your personalized ads are going to stalk you with stuff that's nice. You know, they learn you that quick, and Etsy does not get you that quick. So yes, it's a shame. Getting the Etsy marketplace back to GMS growth is our number one priority. So that is Etsy's saying the right words. Definitely, it should be um, all of our priorities. But show up where shoppers discover on and off Etsy. Well, the large language models, the AI thing, that seems to be working, but it's too little. They need to get good ads and stuff. Match shoppers with the right inventory through even better machine learning. So what I see with this is we're going to see like search is going to get less important as they get a lot of the personalized push stuff getting better, but also what we might see in searches will actually be showing up. We'll be getting found for more irrelevant keywords, but it's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not sure where they mentioned it. And this is a thing that I've known, you know, other places like YouTube does this. I've spoke about this a lot, is they're talking about if somebody likes this thing, well, these other people, when they liked this, they also like this. So they put you into like groups of, you're the kind of people that like these kind of things. So these other people also like that thing. So maybe you might like that thing. Am I even making sense there? So to find things that are a bit more of a stretch, rather than, if you search for bat earrings 40 times, the next 2 years, all you're going to see in your feed is bat earrings. They want to be like, oh, well, if you search for bat earrings, maybe you like long velvet skirts. I don't know. Retain and reward our most valuable customers. By the end of the year, by Q4, Etsy Insider version 2 is going to be out. So they're expanding the Etsy Insider. So, yeah, that is interesting, I think. I might be getting ahead. I've got my notes, but I'm not sure which slide they worked on. They also did say that Google Shopping has been a bit of a priority with them. There was, I'll cover that just now as well. A lot of us have maybe found that Google Shopping's dropped a little bit. Well, they said with Google Shopping, they've been focusing on listings with a good click history. So it makes sense. Etsy makes more money if the Google Shopping ads are for things that sell. So they want to push the things that sell. So Etsy on Google Shopping, this is me paraphrasing them, but they've been taking big sellers. They've been taking big hitters and showing them on Google Shopping. So littler shops might have been hit with that. No Google traffic, pretty much. There were some interesting things they talked about with some of their ads. There's been, now when you see like dips and increases in traffic and you're like, what's Etsy done? There's an interesting thing where they said there was been some points through the year where Amazon, Shein and Temu just dropped out of advertising on Google for a week. I think they even mentioned there was a couple of times where none of the three of them were advertised on Google Shopping. So Etsy got to take all of that traffic. So that was interesting. So like we could be seeing a bump in views coming from a place because Amazon suddenly decided not to be spending money in that place for a little while. So that was very interesting. When you say what's Etsy done, it's not even always them. But yeah, so I found that very interesting. Yep. Just going to check the chat. EJF, I see some traffic from Pinterest. I just shared to Pinterest right from my listings. You want to check, if you haven't, last week on the eRank YouTube channel, Michelle, who was in the chat here a little while ago, did a fantastic video, did a fantastic live on Pinterest, and she gave us so much advice. But the biggest thing, don't just pin straight from your listing. If you're going to work on Pinterest, work on making some really interesting fun pins specifically for Pinterest. EMO has been trying Pinterest for their stuff. Fatty Pancake, something I started ages ago and dropped off. I honestly didn't know that people still use it. I just stopped updating. I need to get back to it. I looked on eRank, the sites tool. You can see where the most traffic's coming to from a site. And on Etsy, the biggest social media site sending to Etsy is Pinterest. Go figure. Cat, are you spying on me? Bat earrings and velvet. See? Catius, if I click on an Etsy item from Google, I almost never land on the item I wanted to see. That is another interesting point that was sort of, Josh mentioned something about this in the Q&A, which I found very interesting, is a problem they've had. I'm translating for you. A problem they've had is the things they want to promote on Etsy are the wonderful one-of-a-kind things. But the problem with that is if you put a lot of effort behind promoting something that's one of a kind and it does really well on Google or on social media, what happens when it sells? So what Etsy are wanting to do and use large language models, use AI for as well, but I can see other things as well. They want to be promoting things that'll take people to a place on Etsy that'll show them similar, a group of things that they might like based on what they saw, which does make sense. So it's kind of good. They're saying we don't want to just promote listings that have 999 items in it. We want to be able to promote the one of a kind stuff. So I kind of liked that. Yeah, I'm getting lost here. Okay, here we go. Yeah, show up where shoppers discover us. They're ramping down the spend on linear TV and accelerating social media investment. I was going to say, oh, it's a shame, why are they dropping the TV investment? Because when they paid for TV ads for the UK, that's when everything blew up in the UK. But that was years ago. I only watch telly when I go around to my mum's. My telly's never on. I watch YouTube. I watch Amazon Prime. I watch stuff on my computer. I fall down a rabbit hole of watching reels and nonsense. So yeah, streaming is the core of our brand media. They're talking about using influencers more and improving the app usability and discovery. Yeah, so it's interesting to see where they're going to go. See, some of this, I think the thing is, right, Etsy's a massive company, and I bet they've got some really cool departments with some great people that are coming up with some great ideas. And they've also got some, can I say, corporate assholes? I'm pretty sure, who are just in it for the money. So yeah, if these exciting teams can become in the majority, things could be better. But anyway, so they're talking about match shoppers with the right inventory through even better machine learning, showing we understand their tastes and needs. So new ranking models improve search by using the power of large language models and generative AI to more deeply understand our listings users and their activity. If this works, this is kind of exciting because we're going to have a new way of doing SEO. We're going to have to figure out not just, well, do you know what I think, let me know if I'm too much here. What I think is we're going to have to figure out our niche, because they're wanting to understand users to say, you got me. So it's much better to not try and speak to everybody, but to speak to the people who want the bat earrings and the velvet skirt, or, really get in your tribe. I think that's how I'm seeing it. Cutting edge approach to recommendations, leveraging large language modules to capture non-obvious relationships between items. Yeah. So let me know if I'm at a bit of a stretch here, but this is what I see. That I see we could be in a really exciting space where things might move towards the shops that are doing the crafty things with a decent niche in mind could do better than the people who are going, I'm going to make 10,000 listings in my shop and I'm going to try and jump on every single keyword trend I can possibly find. Maybe that's not going to be the way to go in future. I'm just going to check chat before we move on. Where did I get to? Camel's Creations, my Google sales have increased tenfold. Not happy about it. You must have some really good listings with a good click rate. Yeah, that's, I don't know what to say. Like, part of me says there are things you can do to make your listing not appealing to Google Shopping, but at the same time, if you've got a really good listing, I don't want to be advising anyone to make changes. Depends if it is it costing you too much. That's the thing. Catius, this has been going on for years, and I end up on a random search page with items that have nothing to do with anything. Yeah, it's probably terrible advertising too. Cat, I like that too. Maybe they've realized we're not making things in thousands and actually acknowledging their unique selling point is their huge range of unique items. Yeah, that was the feeling I got. I don't want to be too excited because I sort of did when it must have been the start of last year. Josh was all contrite and instead of being everything's great, was saying things are gone bad and we're going to have to fix it by doing this. And then he just talks. But I hope this is a direction. Etsy, listen to me. Yeah, I'm such an expert. So yeah, evolving recommendations. They think, okay, this I sort of worry about this. They've been increasing their recommendations and testing these things in Depop, and they're seeing an increase. The only problem I've got is Depop is at a place that it's doing. If you're little, it's easier to grow every every year because they're getting market penetration and things like that. So to say this worked on Depop so we can take it to Etsy, it might not have been just that was working. But anyway, hey, it's good. I mean, it is, yeah. The light blues products bought from recommendations, products bought from organic search. So I would see the proportion seems to be growing fine. They're doing something good. Depop's doing good. Fantastic. Okay, yeah, here's the Etsy Insider, what they're talking about, isn't it? Reward our most valuable customers with a portfolio of tactics. Now, there was a couple of times, I don't know if it was a mistake or a slip, but he did say a couple of times, reward our most valuable customers and sellers. He did say those words. I don't know if he meant to say those words. But anyway, so top shops will maybe maybe they're thinking about something, or it might have just been a slip. But anyway, so nudging buyers to download the app and stuff. But they did say they're talking about keep making things simpler for sellers as well. So quick actions in the shop manager and making the app better and stuff. So they are trying to do things better for sellers. And our Etsy Insider. So by holiday 2025, the Etsy Insider beta program will be expanded to include top buyers, and they'll test new features and updated benefits. Obviously, they're eating the cost of the free shipping, so they want to find ways to expand that without costing them more money. Cat, yeah, Depop doesn't have a public relations milestone around its neck, so it's not comparable. Absolutely. EGF, if they would allow digital downloads via the app, it would help. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, so many people buy on the app and then digital downloads don't work. What is that even about? If you've got 45% of GMS coming from the app should work seamlessly. Further amplify human connection on Etsy. What I think is hilarious is basically they're finding ways to showcase the human connection on Etsy by using AI. To an extent, but yeah, to stand apart, we must amplify our sellers and human connections that only Etsy offers. Yes, the unique selling point of Etsy is not that it's cheap and it can ship for free. Yeah, so but anyway, so they're doing things to showcase people. Oh, I did. Just as I was coming on here, I got a notification on YouTube that the Etsy Success had posted a short saying, "Oh, look how this person has built their." I can't remember the exact word, but it sounded like in the Etsy Insider where you can do specific launches and things. I might have, that might have been a stretch because I've not slept enough. Okay, yeah, here's your results. Again, they've taken out the reverb numbers, which I thought was kind of fun. So as we can see, Q1 to Q2, things would have gone up a teeny tiny bit. The GMS would have gone up slightly if it wasn't for reverb being sold off, but because it was sold off, it's been flatlined. And by the way, they sold reverb for a loss. Yay. But anyway, GMS was flat, but they're going, no, look, if it wasn't for reverb, fine. And you can see the revenue. We've already talked about these numbers, just Etsy showing us extra graphs. Etsy Marketplace GMS ahead of expectations. App investments are bearing fruit. So here is your numbers, which they make it sound, oh, stuff's bearing fruit, but then as we saw, 5.4% down in GMS, and this is such a worrying number. The number of active buyers dropped by nearly 5% year on year. This is not what we want to see, especially when they're spreading out into other countries, other marketplaces. You know, Etsy's not at what marketplace penetration. It's not saturated. There's still people to be found. So I think that is very much, I suppose, economic things, people not buying so much, because people who'd been buying might just not have come back in the past year or whatever it is. But people not coming because it's not been good publicity. And the GMS per active buyer, roughly $120 is what they're selling, what they're spending. But we know what sellers are getting is very, very low as well. But app GMS grew year on year, and represented 45% of total GMS for the quarter. Monthly active users increased 7% year over year. Oh, on the app. Yeah, so we got the numbers. The app went up 7% and app downloads were up year on year. Okay, just check I didn't miss any chat. Amy, if they're pushing the app, it should be able to do the digital downloads. Yep. Cutting room, I think as digital download sellers are an afterthought. Yeah, it does feel like that, which is silly because people creating digital downloads are absolutely doing crafty things. Kat, yeah, it's the drop in habitual buyers that worries me. These are loyal Etsy customers who are turning away from Etsy. Absolutely. I think the rest of the numbers is just coming up. This was good, but if we bear in mind, anyway, higher percentage of sellers are making sales on Etsy. They may be, but there's less money per person going around. So currently on Etsy, there are 5.4 million active Etsy marketplace sellers, declined 18% year on year. So they're wanting less sellers, they've got less sellers. The new setup fee and stepped up enforcement actions have meaningfully slowed the onboarding of new sellers. A higher percent of current active sellers made a sale in the last 12 months versus before the new fee, and the number of new sellers who made a sale improved on a year-on-year basis. I think they said that was before. They said that was made a sale within 6 months. They're not saying number of new sellers who made a sale in Q2. Yeah, so they're changing how they're reporting those numbers, which always worries me. Before they said a new seller who made their first sale in 6 months. Now they're saying new sellers who made a sale in. So we don't know how old a new seller is or if it's their first sale, or but anyway. A higher percent of the current active sellers have made a sale in the last 12 months. So that tells me, sadly, because if the GMS per seller has gone down and more people are making a sale, then people are making even less money. The people who are making sales are making less money. Yeah, interesting. Okay. They make a larger percent of the digital sales. Yep. And Joyce, Michelle's information was amazing. It really was. Michelle was a natural and she has such a passion for Pinterest. I totally agree. Okay, so I showed this little thing just showing how much, basically how Etsy's increasing this portion of the pie, and this portion of the pie is pretty much making money off of us whether we're making sales or not, basically. So if the whole revenue, if the GMS drops, it seems that Etsy's trying to Pac-Man, trying to push that right the way around. But they have said they need to increase the GMS to make more revenue. Look, all of this money comes from if we make sales on Etsy without all the additional things. So let's just have that piece of the pie. But we can look, so on-site ads makes a huge chunk. That's one thing I need to do, is dig through all the numbers and get how much is being made on-site ads. That number has to be somewhere in the details to plot that out, because I think we'd like to see that graph. Etsy and Depop payments, Etsy seller setup fee. Yep. Depop shipping labels and other. So, yep, interesting. Yeah, product development teams. I'm afraid I switched off and didn't pay attention when they were talking about this, but they sacked a few people. They make everyone work a bit harder to make things look better. Am I cynical? A little bit. Deeper marketing spend is sensible to opportunistic investments. Yeah, they're just trying to calm down the investors, basically saying when it sounds right, we'll spend more money on marketing, which absolutely makes sense. Share repurchases. So hopefully, the share repurchases mean that Etsy will get rid of all the shareholders one day. I don't know how many shares they've got left. I haven't bothered to learn what all of this totally means, but they buy back shares every quarter. Yeah, that's what they're reckoning for quarter 3, which, yeah, they're expecting rubbish. They're expecting it to still be pretty bad. And then we had the Q&A. Well, there's lots of numbers in here that I will dig into. Yeah, you're saying you'd like more info on the on-site ads. I'll dig into a lot of the other numbers, but I think we'll do that. That's the presentation. We've got the Q&A, which I sat through, so I'll just look if there was any points there, and if you guys have got any questions and things. But yeah, so I just made quick doodly notes on the Q&A because I was falling asleep by the point, to be perfectly honest. So yeah, things help grow the quarter. We already saw in the slides, app users are up 7% year on year. And investments in Google Ads is bearing fruit. But yeah, that was where I got the point from when they were saying there was times in the quarter where Amazon, Shein and Temu were all advertising on Google less at the same point. Very, very strange. There was a strange question, but it makes sense about our customers, that basically higher end people with lots more money are able to spend more. No, their spending hasn't dropped as much as people with less money. So I've said this a couple of reports ago, and actually there is a positive that I can see that in my mind. It means if you're making things and you're struggling, don't worry about trying to get really, really cheap. Sometimes if you sell real quality things, you can, add more quality materials and make things much, much more expensive. I speak about this a lot, like my mum's gloves. My mum knits, and knitting is really time consuming, and if you try and make really, really cheap things, you get the cheap wool and whatever, you don't make a good hourly rate at all. However, if you buy some of the luxury fabrics, Angora, she got some pure wool spun from the farm that did the Lord of the Rings, Gandalf's cape. We visited an alpaca farm on a hillside, an organic alpaca farm on a hillside overlooking a reservoir where the animals had a great life. If you have a story for the great materials, then your markup is actually so much greater that you make a good hourly wage and you have to sell less things. So it's good. um, so yeah, don't fear. The people with loads of money still have loads of money and are still there to buy from you. Planes going overhead, rude. Um, yeah, so there was a quick bit. Do I have more notes? A little bit more notes. Etsy Insider subscribers are coming back more often. So Etsy Insider was working. Um, Yeah, and that's where he said the new version want to be rewarding the best buyers and sellers. Don't know, but so look out for something that top sellers are maybe going to be getting, or star sellers, or I don't know. But he specifically said the new version of the Etsy Insider will be rewarding best buyers and sellers. Um, Yeah, they talked about the Etsy being the recipient of chatbot traffic. I'm definitely, yeah. I was messing around with that advice on how to SEO for chatbots, and some of it was really interesting. So I'll definitely pull that up. One, oh, for the 57 people that are here just now, I'll pull up one thing that was very interesting. Google has always been interested in authority. Are you an authority on things? And there used to be a whole thing of having links. That's where you got all these registries, websites that were just like link farms, because having inbound links was good. Obviously, Google put a stop to that and things, but links were still important. One thing that chatbots are supposedly good at doing is they're looking at places, certain social media like Reddit, which has user generated but moderated and verified content. So if you're getting lots of mentions on somewhere like Reddit in a good way, then that can be a positive thing for the chatbots. That was an interesting one. Yep. Yeah. Okay. So that's all my notes. I couldn't read my handwriting there. So that's pretty much my notes. Did anyone else spot anything I didn't? There wasn't. Sometimes there's some real nuggets. You're like, oh heck, that's coming. I I was surprised there was no real changes, but they still could be making changes this summer. I think Etsy has to make some changes because those numbers are bad. That's about all I can say. Yeah, Emily, the drop in Temu Shein ads was tariff related. It could well be. I mean, yeah, Temu and Shein. Yeah, in fact, yes, absolutely, it was tariff related. Yes, they're not. Um, if they're struggling to be able to sell in the US, obviously. Amazon's coming in and undercutting them, so they're having to find a new business model. So there's no point heavily advertising when they're struggling to find a new business model. So in the US, that'll be making a big difference. Kat, yay for knitting. It's my niche. So always happy to cheer on the crafters. Absolutely. I always think of knitting because I see, like, all my life, mum's been sitting in a corner in the evening knitting away. I know how much work goes into it. So cats, they mentioned in the Q&A about wanting to bring buyers in earlier in their discovery journey, which is again aligning with Pinterest. Absolutely, yes. Etsy very much wants, it's been speaking about this for a while. It wants to catch people before they're saying, oh, I've got to search for this thing and I've been to Amazon, I've been to eBay and I can't find it anywhere. I want to come to, I suppose I'll come to Etsy. They want to almost get people before they even know they're going to be searching for something, which sounds far-fetched, but as I said, that's what Shein and Temu's algorithms do. You literally, in fact, lots of algorithms, who hasn't had it where you you're getting social media ads, you've talked to somebody about something and then suddenly your ads are targeted to that thing. So Etsy wants a piece of that pie. Michelle, one person asked about clawing back money last year. I'm not sure. Did I miss a question in chat? Can somebody copy the question? I'm not sure what I missed, or was that in the Q&A? Clawing back money last year. I don't remember anything about that. Can someone jog my memory? I'm not great. Yeah, Kat, Pinterest is where people go to plan things. And Josh said Etsy was partnered with Pinterest. So yeah, we really need to get on there. Absolutely, yes. Yeah, Pinterest is doing great. Pinterest sends a lot of traffic. Etsy's partnered with Pinterest. I think you're right. I think we need to get on there, especially if your things are visual, and most of us are. You know, if you're creating something digitally, physically, whatever, if you are sitting down to create something, you have something visual. You have the thing you made, you have your creation process, you have your inspiration for that creation process, and you have how does the person in your niche use the thing that you've created. So there's a lot. Kat, it was question 6 and I didn't understand a word of it. I might have zoned out by then. So I will check and have a listen again. I don't have a memory of it. I do have a lot of notes here. Nope. Nope, sorry, I don't see anything. I'll go back and listen to that last question and see if I can figure it out, and I'll let you know. But guys, unless there's any further questions, I'll give you a couple of minutes to see. But otherwise, I think we're done here. Yeah, I hope that was interesting. I actually enjoyed digging in and getting some new data, although it's depressing data. I enjoyed getting some new data to tabulate, to me, to add to my graphs. So that was fun. It's always interesting. Hopefully this is rock bottom for Etsy. I knew things would be bad, but I thought last year was rock bottom and things were coming up. So yeah. Kat, I think it was about shifting focus from long-term GMS to short-term, and like when they'd see some returns on it. You were done by that. Vaguely, yes. I'll have to check it, but yes, vaguely, I didn't. I didn't. I don't think I heard anything in it that was interesting. but yes, they were talking about when are we going to start seeing some returns on the GMS, which I think is fair because Josh has been bigging up the different things they're doing, and it's definitely not currently working. So yes, Cutting Room Designs, thank you so much. Vintage, I saw that you didn't like the numbers. You cannot hide it. Yeah. I don't have a very good poker face. No, the numbers aren't good. I hoped they would be better. If anyone missed it, all the slides, my graphs, and that sort of review of everything is right at the start of the video. It's like just 10 minutes at the start. So if you missed it, head back to that. Kat, thank you too. Everybody, thank you so much for joining me. It's been good. Yeah, have a great day, week, whatever you're doing, and hopefully we'll figure out ways to make things good in spite of Etsy. Right. Have a great time.